Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
Okay, welcome everybody back to episode 10 of the Retro Disney World Podcast. This episode is titled Hooray for Floridawood. We're going to take you back to the opening day of the Disney-MGM studios way back on May 1st, 1989. I'm your host, Todd McCartney, and with me as always, we've got JT Kujar. How are you tonight, JT?
Good, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. And Hal Bowers?
Aloha.
Aloha. He just celebrated National Tiki Day, so...
That's right.
We've got National Mai Tai Day coming up in a few days, too.
That was followed by International Hangover Day.
Oh, that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right. And we also have Brian P. Miles with us tonight, as always.
Greetings from Pennsylvania.
There we go. Brian, you and I got to meet, and you got to meet with Hal over the past month. So we actually put...
Giving away all of our show secrets.
No secrets, yeah. Can't let people know. So we also have a very special guest tonight who was there on opening day along with Hal. And so we have to cue the Love Boat theme here, put his picture in that circle. We welcome to the show.
It's called a porthole, Todd.
It was a porthole, that's correct. We welcome to the show Mr. Hoot Gibson. How are you, Hoot?
I'm special.
You are.
Welcome. Hi. Nice to be here, guys.
Yeah, so Hoot's going to be sitting in for the entire show with us tonight. And before we get to the nitty-gritty of... the escapades of Hal and Hoot during first day there at Disney-MGM Studios. We're going to get through some of the correction and comments, dialing back to last month's episode, which was on the American Adventure over at Epcot and World Showcase. Now, Brian, you had a correction you wanted to make based on one of the small errors we had, correct?
Yeah, well, it's a correction to myself.
Okay.
As you know, we strive for accuracy. So as I was listening back to the episode, listening to myself tell the story of Marty Sklar describing this moment where Dick Nunes pointed to where American Adventure was and said you have to put it at the back of World Showcase because that's where the weenie is. I said that I heard Marty Sklar tell that story at Epcot 30, and afterwards, as I listened back, I remembered he wasn't there. He had an award ceremony the night before in Los Angeles. He recorded some kind of an introduction. And I did meet him. He flew in later that night. So he wasn't, he either told it in the recorded comments or one of the other panelists told the story. But I didn't want any of the 12 listeners who were actually at Epcot 30 to be saying, Brian's full of dung. There's no way that Marty Sklar wasn't even there. So I did remember that afterwards after I listened.
I was going to say something, but I didn't want to embarrass you because I caught that right away.
JT is our continuity expert.
Yes.
So that is my correction.
All right.
Thank you.
I know we've got one that I'm going to throw this one over to Hal after Hal, I want you to comment on this other one. We got an email from Rob Herndon regarding weenies as well. And this was that Adventureland, if we ever notice, only has a sign, right? There is the weenie is audible, not visual. It's dark. There's a mysterious jungle. You hear strange bird calls, waterfalls, tribal drums, and there was no moving weenie. Like you had Star Jets, you had the riverboat, you had obviously the castle. You look through the castle, you've got the carousel. So, what do you think? I mean,
I'm gonna ask Dave to back me up on this, but I'm pretty sure that the treehouse was intended to be the weenie.
Okay.
Because if you're standing at the hub, you can see the treehouse peeking up over the top, right?
Yeah, I do believe so. And you know what? I also think, back in the day, the trees and stuff weren't that big.
Right.
And I think the whole Tropical Serenade pagoda was the ultimate weenie in Adventureland.
Before you had those stupid carpets in front of the way.
Yeah. Oh, God, don't mention it. I'll have a heart attack right here.
All right, I'm sorry. We got to save you for the rest of the show, Hoot. I can't do that to you now.
No, you're right. In fact, like to your point, you would come in, you'd come up to the treehouse, and then as you looked out to the right, you'd see the pagoda, and that would pull you into that. Yeah.
Right. So
exactly. The treehouse was a major attraction at the time at opening.
Right.
You know, and it was hard to hide with sapling trees all around it. It was right there.
Yep. Oh, well, there we go. Well, Rob Herndon, I appreciate you writing in, and if we find anything else out about it, we'll certainly add it to a future show. We also had two more come in here. One of them was from Teresa, and this goes also back to the American Adventure. And it was interesting. She found that the house or store or building from the Depression era scene is actually still standing. It's a few hour drives from Virginia, and we'll post a picture of this. There's a picture of it back in Depression time, the Disney incarnation of it in the scene, as well as what it looks like now. So just a little bit of interesting history if you're near Virginia.
I cited that in the episode as my favorite scene in the American Adventure. So now I must go and find this and get my own picture in front of it before it falls down, because it's kind of dilapidated now.
So Teresa, Brian's going to be in touch with you. He wants to know where this is. He's going to. All right, and the other one, we don't have a full name here. This one's from DW. But he or she wrote in that in Kevin Yee's essay, 4 Decades of Magic, that Marty Sklar, Randy Bright, and John Hench's faces are in the post-Revolutionary War celebration parade painting at the American Adventure. And also Rick Rothschild and some other Imagineer silhouettes are still hanging in the foyer. So
we're going to go hunt those down.
I believe it.
You believe
it? Gibson believes that, yeah. just judge them by the 3 guys you mentioned.
Yeah,
I believe their heads are probably everywhere in there.
So we got to get some reconnaissance mission out there and get some pictures.
Done deal.
Saying, yeah. So, all right, well, we'll close up the corrections and comments for this month, and we're going to move on now to the main topic. So, as we said, the title of this episode is Hooray for Floridawood. And what does that really mean? Well, Universal Studios Hollywood at the time was an attraction or a theme park where you go in and you actually see the working studio. So you would tour the studio, you would take tram rides, you would see the Back to the Future set, you would see the Psycho House, all sorts of other attractions there, and everything. It was really to be in a real working studio to see how
these were like the actual sets from the film.
Exactly, yeah. When they were done, they put the props out there, prop warehouses, and all sorts of things. And there was a general grand vision also to make Florida the Hollywood of the East. And part of the plan was, from Universal's vision, is to reproduce that experience that you had in California. That is, seeing movies made, riding through sound stages and backlot sets, and bring that same feel and same function to visitors in Florida. So they began to acquire some land in 1986, and about a year later or so, the park was announced, and with a targeted December 1989 opening. Now, previous to all this going on, or kind of at the same time, Disney had entered into an agreement with MGM. And that happened in 1985, where they received the rights to use different movies and characters and objects and such from those films. So, not to be outdone by Universal, now hearing that Universal is trying to bring their famed Universal tour, so to speak, to Florida. In 1986, Disney announces that the Disney-MGM studios will be built in Florida at Walt Disney World. The Universal Studios met a bunch of delays, and ironically, Disney wound up beating Universal at its own game and opened its doors on May 1st, 1989. So, as we said in the beginning, we're going to take you back to that day.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner. In the great tradition of Hollywood, I'd like to welcome you to a major studio sneak preview. Tonight, the Disney-MGM Studios theme park will officially open to the public. But as the final touches are being put on this wonderful new theme park, we're going to give you a glimpse of what all the excitement is about. We're also going to try and give you a sense of what this thing called Hollywood is all about.
How and Hoot were there, saw the park in its entirety on that very first day, and I'm going to turn it over to them because I think we have a story here, one for the ages. So not only is this a trip back in time, but I'm sure we've got some great little stories to go with it.
The way things were at the time, there wasn't a lot of information about this. I mean, Dave and I were in college. We were huge Disney and Epcot fans. And when they made this announcement, there was virtually no information available of what the park was going to be like. There wasn't someone telling you, there was no D23 like showing you what it was going to look like, what attractions were going to be there. There was virtually no information. There was one pamphlet, booklet that was handed out at the Disney stores. That was simply titled A Special Sneak Preview Guide to Disney-MGM Studios. And
I remember that.
Yeah, it has. I have one in front of me now. It's got some renderings, but I mean, you can't really tell what's going on. The Great Movie Ride is billed as Great Moments at the Movies, presented by Sears, which obviously the name changed and the sponsors changed to Coca-Cola.
Everybody's in plaid slacks in the whole ride.
And at the end, you can buy a washer and dryer.
Exactly. Take the escalator through the movies.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that ended up not keeping the name. So like they just have it marked off like animation building, Disney Dailies Theater, post production, sound stages, special effects. They do mention Catastrophe Fan, but it's like you can't really tell what's going on. It was really loose. So when we planned to go on opening day, we literally had no idea what we were going to see. No clue at all. The television special didn't run until the night that we were actually there. I think it ran the night before opening, so like on April 30th. And then and we were actually getting prepared to go, so we didn't see the opening day special. So we came in there completely blind.
When we finally hear from I don't know who, somebody called me and said the park's going to open this day. We're like, yeah, let's go, man, let's go. We got to do this.
Drop everything.
Yeah, without even knowing what the hell we were going to see, really, except for the Great Movie Ride. I think that's the only thing I really knew they had. For a note of history, Hal and I are the first human beings to ever get free parking at Disney-MGM. We're the first guests to ever get free parking because they were afraid we'd get hurt out there waiting in our cars on World Drive.
So you want to set that stage?
We gotta find out how this happened.
So we were going to school in Sarasota at Ringling. Dave's brother lived in Lakeland at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So we headed over there the night before about 8:00 to get together and prep. And I had my car. Dave had his car. I think you drove with your brother. I drove my girlfriend at the time.
I love the term prep. It's you're not climbing Mount Everest, but you've got a fair drive.
Oh yeah, you got to get ready
you were
for
going to camp
sure.
out. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the plan was to show up at 2 a.m. We had no idea what to expect. I think we expected there would be no facilities, there would be no water, there would be no. So we brought snacks, we brought Cokes and waters with us. I actually took an Imodium just as a precaution. So
you're like that crazy astronaut lady that drove across the country in diapers.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think we left Lakeland about 1 a.m. and drove over to World Drive. Now, back then, the way that you got into Disney-MGM was totally different. There was no back entrance off by the Swan and the Dolphin. That did not exist. That was just all backlit parking. And then there was no extra 4-lane road over there that would take you over to Animal Kingdom because none of that existed. You got onto World Drive, and there was a little turnoff that got you under that bridge. Actually, I don't even think the bridge was there. I don't think the overpass was even there at that point. No, it just kind of brought you into that same area where those film things are now that kind of have the Ariel and the Star Wars characters on them. But that was coned off.
I just looked, by the way, on Google. I just sent a picture from the Florida Department of Transportation aerial photography archive that I have from February 12th, 90. And I've been looking at Google Earth here. The furthest I can go back is 95. So somewhere between February 95 and February 1990 is when that bridge was added, when they put in...
Yeah, it used to be way lonelier before that. It was just the World Drive.
Yeah.
And then that little, like, off-ramp, or not off-ramp even, just turn.
Yeah.
And there was no sign or anything.
No, it was like just this way, because they still had the very small entrance up on the north side of the parking lot, but it was just that.
So we showed up. We were probably the third or fourth car there. There was one car in front of me. Okay.
And then you were right behind me, and that was it.
Yep.
When we pulled up, and I don't know who the hell that dork was. That guy's got to be king of Dorkville by now.
Yeah, I mean, really, who would get up
He's
that
the
early?
reigning
He's
emperor.
got to be listening.
You know?
He's out there going, that was me. That was me. I was first. I was there.
That was your tweet at Retro WDW.
Let us know if you're out there.
Mr. X.
That was me.
So we just got there and kind of pulled off to the side, and we waited and waited and waited, and then finally some security cars would literally like every 45 minutes a security car would drive by, and then finally one kind of stopped and started hassling us.
You guys actually want to see this place?
Yeah, and here's the thing. It had not occurred to them.
Candy.
It hadn't occurred to them that someone would actually come and try to get in, to be there for
You're absolutely right.
in the morning.
You're right. It's weird because, it's a new park opening up, and there's 3 cars sitting out there at World Drive. That's it.
Now, supposedly, I think I had read that like people had camped out for Epcot and maybe the Magic Kingdom, so I don't know why they wouldn't expect something and have a contingency. But literally, as the night went on, it became clearly evident that they had no plan at all what to do with people. Yep. And they were just literally making it up as they went along. So I remember he comes out and he starts hassling us that it's unsafe. So Dave does the most responsible thing possible to try to argue his point with the man, and he goes out and he lays in the middle of World Drive.
Because there hadn't been a car through there in 3 hours.
Just like that Chinese guy standing in front of the tanks.
Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
Yeah, and then we were all just laying there, and we were like, hey, man, look. There are no cars coming. Man, how hilarious.
So then finally, 4:30, 5, they decided to open it up and let us go into that road finally. So we kind of got moved off down that side road before the ticket booth where you'd pay. And we're just sitting there. And then suddenly there's this gigantic explosion behind us. And now again, we have no idea what this is.
Oh my God, the place just blew up. We wasted all our time.
So I don't know if we figured out until later that was Catastrophe Canyon and they were cycling testing it to see what was going on.
Once we saw it go off like 10 times, then we go, this must be planned because a place can't blow up 10 times in one night.
Michael Eisner's here.
If it's not
That's his entrance.
And by now we got us a convoy going in.
Yep.
We have, we started out as 3 cars and now we got 6.
Oh.
So we got 6 cars lined up waiting to get in. Disney-MGM.
It's 100% increase there.
Yeah, and one of them was a family of like 4 that
that's right.
They were trying to be the first family. That was their shot. So then it became our mission to make sure that family became the first family.
Yeah, that's right.
We took that on. So, but again, we were sitting over on that side road for like another 2 hours.
Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think finally around 5:30 or 6, they let us drive in for free into the regular parking lot, and they parked us like in the furthest part of the parking lot possible away from the entrance.
Now, what time was it supposed to open? I know after it opened, they were doing these special openings at like 6:30 and 7. What time was the official grand opening? Do you know?
I think it was 9.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Was it 9? Okay.
Yeah, and I think we knew Eisner was going to do the dedication at 9 that morning. So we sat in the parking lot, and they had like the lights, the spotlights going back and forth, and you could kind of see buildings off in the distance. It's like, oh, hey, we're getting close. Something's going on there. And then like about 6:30 a.m., they started parking cars of people that had just shown up, like way up in front.
Yeah, we were like the Griswolds, man. We were in the back.
But you got
run
so
too.
We totally got ripped off.
Yeah, you guys got to remember
we couldn't get close to it.
The back of the parking lot then is the middle of it now.
Yeah, and security wouldn't even let us get out of the cars and approach it until after like there were a whole bunch of people like already parked and like headed up to the ticket booths.
Oh,
I remember telling that one security guard, that was standing there messing with us, and I said, "But we got to be outside our cars because I'm a smoker. I need to smoke." I said, "My little brother's allergic, so I can't just sit in my car." "Oh, okay, you can get out." And then I was like, "Well, you don't understand. My little brother's got to pee at some point." "Oh, okay, you guys can walk around." Yeah.
That's right. They actually wanted us to stay physically inside of the cars for the entire 6 hours we were waiting. So finally after they had let a whole bunch of people in, they let us walk over to the ticket booths. And that's when we first discovered that we needed to actually buy tickets in order to get in, or at least exchange tickets, because I had a 2-day ticket from Epcot and the Magic Kingdom, so I had to go to guest services in order to exchange that for a new ticket that had the Disney-MGM stuff on it too. Yeah.
Did they know what they were doing at that ticket booth, Hal? Or were you kind of like a pioneer? They're like, whoa, who's this guy?
They were actually trained for that, and there were quite a few people doing that too. So because there was no opportunity to do it ahead of time. So yeah, and Dave, I think you had some ticket where you didn't have to do that, but I had to change mine, I think.
I just looked this up. In 1989, now, I don't know if this is pre or post opening, a adult resort guest was $78 for a 3-day adult.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, a 1-day ticket was $29.
I might have had to update my 2-day to a 3-day because there was no such thing as a 3-day pass.
Right.
And then I had to do the full upgrade at that point.
And we were still in the stamp system back then too, right? This was still the rubber stamp. So
that's right.
And you guys, everybody's got to remember, we're talking 1989. Me and Hal had no money.
Right.
We were in school. We had no money. I think I lived off of $5 a day, and that included a pack of cigarettes and a Big Gulp. So I was starving to death. None of us had any money, and the fact that we even made it that far was a miracle.
Hobnobbing with Bob Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this time, if Dave and I went to the park, we were probably bringing in a bag lunch and eating a peanut butter sandwich on the Wedway People Mover.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's no...
Definitely. Sharing a hot dog at Coke Corner, which is now Coke Corner.
Camping out in the ruins of Roy's cabin.
Yeah, we used to get extra condiments and dump them all on there so we'd have something to eat.
Making a meal out of the sauerkraut and Casey's. I get it.
So what happened after you got your ticket? You guys got, and then were you allowed to go right through, or how did that work then?
So then we went up to the turnstiles, and we actually saw that family that we were hoping would be the first family, and then we saw Eisner on the outside of the gates with some handlers, and he was going around, and he cherry picked the first family out of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think we even tried to stop somebody and say these people were out here since 2 in the morning. They didn't care.
Stay away from Michael.
Well, it's interesting because it just occurred to me this would be the first park he actually opened.
Yep,
that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
During his tenure. I mean, he opened a whole bunch after that, but this is the first park inaugural that he was doing.
Now, there's another call to action. If you're that first family that was the real first family, we'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, not the cherry picked one.
Not the one that Eisner picked. The real.
They've all died of a broken heart.
Oh,
man, that's amazing how you remember that. Because now I remember like it was yesterday. All of a sudden they felt gypped.
Yeah,
and you're like, hey,
absolutely.
Man.
While this was going on, we were still all behind the turnstiles. They had not let anyone in at this point, so they pulled them out. Eisner went up to get ready for to give his speech, and we were kept outside a little while. So then, once he finally got up to the place where he would do the dedication, they opened up the gates, and I think Dave turned to me and said, "Do you want to see Eisner talk?" And we both kind of said, "Nah." And we just
totally
now draw this picture for me here. I'm picturing the area in the turnstiles. Was it wall to wall New Year's Eve style crowd, or could you move around? Or
it was pretty busy.
Pretty packed.
Yeah,
they had us all locked outside the turnstiles with these iron gates. Yeah, and Bob Hope and Eisner were right behind the gates, but you felt you were at Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah, before Gene Wilder let you in.
Was the dedication was the dedication on the outside of the turnstiles or actually inside the turnstiles in the park?
Inside.
Okay.
You got to watch him and Bob Hope right there. So whether or not it was the official dedication, I don't know. We were just like, what's going on here?
You guys at this point are just jonesing to get in, right? You know.
Yeah, we want to do something.
Yeah. Too.
So where'd you go first? How did you get around that? Because there's only like that one path, right?
Okay, so let me just say this. It's now 9 a.m. The sun is up. We are hot. We are tired. It's like we've been up for hours. So yeah, we just want to freaking do something. and we may have picked up a park map, but we like literally had no idea what anything was. So we just said we're just going to go as fast as we can up the street, duck through the stores if we have to in order to get past the crowds, and whatever the first attraction that we see is, that is where we're going.
Yep, with air conditioning.
Exactly. So we walked as fast as humanly possible up Hollywood Boulevard.
And we should note Sunset Boulevard didn't exist then, right?
Right.
So once you went in and
straight
and you
to
went
the Monster
past
Sound
Sid
Show.
Cahoon's, yeah, you just went straight until you hit the left to go.
Almost, JT. Almost.
Come on.
Yeah, almost.
Straight up to Superstar Television.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Television.
And we were literally, I think, the first people in that concrete pit of a queue.
That was a bizarre outdoor pseudo covered, and like you said, it was a pit. It was on this 20-degree pitch, maybe.
It's just a giant slope down.
Yeah, it very odd. If you never really created something like that before, and it's covered but still open air with some fans blowing.
Yeah,
I
it's
wonder
kind of like you take cattle down there.
It's going to be a Sarlacc pit now. Watch.
You know what?
Yeah.
So here's my bet. Because of the way that was configured, I bet that was the loading dock for the thing, and then they just turned it into the waiting area when it was done.
Hell, I agree with that. That's probably 100% true.
I also thought too, if you noticed on it, it was a ramp down, but to the left side it evened out, and the pitch matched the pitch of the theater. So you went right to the left through the doors that opened. So it actually matched the pitch of the theater. So you were bought in. You were already lined up to go into a theater.
And now, Sony proudly presents...
Live from the Disney-MGM studios, it's Superstar Television!
Don't touch that dial. It's television history in the making on Superstar Television. Superstar Television, featuring your favorite stars, your favorite shows, and you, the talented members of our studio audience.
There are probably other people who have never seen Superstar Television or have only. So the concept of Superstar Television is that they had scenes from like famous television shows like Cheers and The Tonight Show and The Three Stooges,
Gilligan's Island, Lucy.
And they had these little things set up on stage. They would pick people out of the audience. It was an audience participation show. They would run clips of the show, and then they would have a tiny little slice of a set that was made to look like that show set. And then they would cut in video, like the person who was the volunteer out of the audience, and put him into the show. And it was about 20 minutes long. And so they would have someone come up as if Johnny Carson was interviewing them, and they would go back and forth. It was like sometimes a kid, I think, like in a baseball suit or something.
I remember seeing it, and I always thought it was really funny. I mean, it was done well. And was there any green screen? I mean,
I think it was because some of it.
I can't remember. What I find
either.
interesting about it is if you look at the technology back then, you look at it and you go, oh wow, it's just nothing but a bunch of well-timed cuts and well-placed lines, right? That's all it was.
It was good.
The hilarity of it was the people off the street, as you're going to talk about screwing things up.
Right, exactly.
But,
they would make a mistake or...
Right. Now today, kids walk around and make movies on their smartphone, so this concept is just,
Where was this now? Where is this now? What's right there? Is there anything there?
It was American Idol now,
That's
wasn't
in
it?
the American Idol studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, it's vacant now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I think they're getting ready to put allegedly Frozen or a Star Wars something in there.
And I think during the holidays they bring back the Comedy Warehouse improv
Oh yeah,
group to do shows in there just to eat up people.
So you guys did that? You didn't get picked? You just got to watch?
Well, no. So the person
yeah.
So they were acting like, oh, I need someone who's strong or whatever. And then the lady says, I need someone who can really take it on the chin. And then...
Yeah, and you raise your hand. You're like, me.
And they all pointed at me.
Him.
So I got pulled up. So I got pulled into the first group of people that did Superstar Television.
Wow, fresh costumes.
Yeah. So I got pulled backstage with a group of people, super dark back there. There was a host that sort of like took each person off to an individual spot to do a little bit of prep and give them their lines and stuff. So I get pulled over to this little tiny refrigerator, and they open it up, and it's filled with these pies. Like there's pie shells on like 3 racks, and then whipped cream in the door.
Everything with you and Disney comes back to pies.
It does.
It really does.
It does. Yeah, it's pies again. We need a guy who bought pies at Lake Buena Vista.
If you've listened to the first 10 episodes, it's always about the pie with Hal.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Mainly his parents and the infatuation with the pie shop at Lake Buena Vista.
So Hal goes up there.
Yep.
And lay it on him, man. We're out in the audience. We're watching, and all of a sudden there's Hal.
So the scene is a Three Stooges thing, and it's a pie fight between the Three Stooges and like a bunch of like nicely dressed people in tuxedos. And my line is I have a pie in my hand, I step forward to the mark and then say, "Your pie, sir." And then off stage, someone throws a pie in my face. And
hits him right in the face.
Yeah. And then cut, and then that's the scene.
You're in the audience. Like, was this exciting? Like, was this like crazy cool?
Well, we thought it was great. He was the first paying guest to ever get hit in the face with pie at Disney-MGM Studios. We thought it was hilarious. Of course, we were punch drunk and tired. We were like, anything's funny now.
Terrible.
Look at Howard.
And I liked it because the pie was ice cold and I was so hot that it was just refreshing.
More pie in my face, please, sir.
I was like, can I write again?
In the guidebook, it says, and each guest will get to keep a videotape of their performance. And they didn't give you no tape.
No, in fact, you weren't even allowed to tape it because.
So we said, "Hey, where's the tape?" And the lady was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, next group."
Right, because there were licensing issues with all of those shows. Because
and I'm a stickler for detail. And I was like, "Well, it says right here, he deserves a tape."
Could you see the rest of the show backstage, How?
No, I could only really see my thing, and that was it. So
they didn't even have TVs or anything to show you what else was going on.
No, in fact, I didn't even see the actual show until I went back again like a year later, and we like tried again.
So you got to see 1/10 of it from the first person view, and that's it.
But I was cold, so it was okay. So we get out of Superstar Television, and then I think the next thing we did is we just went right next door to Monster Sound Show because it was there.
Yeah,
and I think most people did, right? The exit was practically dumped you out right next to the entrance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and there we go again. We're going clockwise, just like Magic Kingdom.
Now, I'm curious, when you came out, did you notice, was the park any more crowded? Was anything else going on, like opening day, festivities, anything like that? Or was it just business as usual?
It was definitely more crowded when we came out because by that time, Eisner's thing was over. The opening stuff was over, so that whole crowd, it'd been 25 minutes, so the crowds had moved out. So yeah, it was starting to get busy now.
Later on, it was a disaster. Later on, there was just too many people.
Oh yeah, there was a wait everywhere. 15 minutes for Monster Sound Show, maybe.
That's when Letterman was the I shouldn't say opening act, but in the preview area where you were standing there in the queue. Letterman was giving some top 10 list, right?
Yep. They had a custom top 10 list that he did. He interviewed, they had a clip from the old show where he interviewed Jimmy McDonald, the sound guy.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3!
Monster Sound Show!
Very good. Did we get that, Dave?
Sure did. Would you like to hear it?
I sure would. Folks, this is Dave in our control room. Everybody wave and say, "Hi, Dave!"
Hey, Dave!
Dave's going to be our engineer today for the... Now, a lot of people think that's just...
So let's see. So Monster Sound Show was Martin Short, and who was the other?
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase
was in it, yeah.
That was actually pretty good. That was that was fairly entertaining of a show.
It was inventive too. I mean, the idea was that they picked what, 2 or 3 people?
It was quite a few.
10.
Was it more? Was it 10 people? Okay.
Yeah. So all those different devices.
Instead of performing like in Superstar Television in a television show, the individuals would go up and be asked to perform certain sound effect tasks. And I think also what made it funny too is that, you know, if you were in charge of thunder, they also gave you something to do, but it was 5 feet away. And when your cue came up, you had to kind of run back and forth. So it obviously always ended in some sort of off-timed sound effects. And some people did really well with it. There was somebody I remember using shoes to walk on gravel. And the film was what? It was like a kind of like a horror Frankenstein.
Yeah, he was going up to an old haunted house or something.
That's right. He was a salesman.
He was a traveling
right?
salesman.
Yeah.
Or no. And then they would show these other salesmen that he had killed, like he strangled the vacuum cleaner salesman by wrapping his neck up in the hose of the vacuum. So there is a post show, 2 post shows. One is they had like a video of Jimmy McDonald and some of his contraptions that he did for sound effects. So you can kind of.
And he has a cool Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, that's right.
And, you know, that was the really inventive part, the stuff that he came up with, and then I think you could get into where you'd be able to play with the stuff afterwards.
Right, exactly.
It was amazing. You know, he would show how he cracked celery for like a punch to the face, right? Or drop spaghetti or something, and that would be things you just would never expect. So it was that's timeless, right? You could still do that. Those Foley artists are still being used today in today's films. And
he would make all these little weird mechanical contraptions with like cranks and stuff to do the sounds, which is really inventive.
The wind sound with the big canvas belt on that big wheel. On that big wooden wheel, and it sounded just like wind.
And thunder was like what? It was just a piece of steel hung by a string.
Sheet metal.
You
wobble
shake the thing back and forth,
All right, how about a big hand for all of our Foley artists, Sam, Jeff, Michael, Tim, good stuff, guys. Now, if you'd like to try some more of our sound effects, please visit Soundworks on your way out. And on behalf of Sony, Dave and I would like to thank you for helping us to create Now, please wait till the theater has come to a complete stop and then gather up.
Then there was also this thing called Sound Stations, where you would go into these little soundproof booths. So you go into the little soundproof room and put on headphones, and then they recorded this whole thing with binaural audio. And the story is that you're this new studio executive who's brought up into this suite, and a bunch of people come in to like talk to you and do different things. So like a guy comes in and gives you a haircut, and it sounds and feels like your hair is getting cut. There's like some crazy secretary with one of those high squeaky Brooklyn accents that talks to you. There's a guy who shoots arrows, and he's shooting arrows through the room, and it kind of feels like it's whizzing by your head. And then finally at the end, the big cheese himself, Mickey Mouse, comes in and talks to you and gives you your ears. And it actually kind of sounds and feels like a pair of Mickey Mouse ears being put on your head.
And I have to say, the reason they turn the lights off in there is just to increase the sensitivity of the hearing sense, right? To blacken out your other ones. And it was very it was a 3-dimensional sound. And again, let's go back to the time. It's 1989. What are you used to listening to? Just plain stereo, right? But the feeling of something going around the back of your neck with clippers and feeling the buzz, it was very, very impressive for the time.
Yeah.
Now, Howard hears this, and he's amazed by it. So he goes home, and by going to Radio Shack in a wig store?
Yeah.
You use this styrofoam wig head, and you hook these microphones to the thing's head. And then Howard takes this thing to Disney World and records all these rides. But it sounds like you're really there. He duplicated that same thing with Radio Shack parts, which was amazing. He did a Horizons ride through, and you'd swear to God, you shut your eyes, you're right there on the ride.
So Howe is not only the first person to get a pie in the face, but he's also the first person to carry a styrofoam stylus head through the park.
And in fact, on the one recording, the girl says, "What is that?" and he goes, "Oh, it's what did you say? It's just a microphone or something."
So I think that makes you the first audio archivist in the parks.
The guy was a genius.
These are going to be some of the audio rewinds, I think, at some point, right, Hal?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I think they already have been.
We've used
that's not from the styrofoam head. I can't wait to hear the tales of the styrofoam head.
And I have
man, wonderful.
I have some of them up on my website because I think I did some research and I saw that those microphones cost like $20,000 at the time, and I was just like, well, that's not going to happen.
So there's a little history for you. This guy, man.
So where'd you guys head next? What JT's chomping at the bit for Indiana, but I don't know if that came next, did it?
I don't think we did that until evening. I was thinking we probably headed back over to the animation courtyard, to the studio gate arch and that courtyard because we wanted to do something over there. Yeah, and this time
hooked a left.
We've walked past the Great Movie Ride. We at this point we haven't even figured out that the entrance to that ride is there.
That marquee has always been kind of
hidden,
it's actually more apparent at night with it lit up than it is during the day.
Yeah, we had no clue. So we went to Backlot Express, and it's just, we walk in and it's literally just filled with stuff, and some of it is like fake prop stuff, but a lot of it is stuff that's actually pulled from Disney attractions, and it looks like from the Imagineering warehouse. And we probably spent a good 10-20 minutes just like walking around looking at all the things that were stuck to the wall. Because, the first part of it is supposed to be like a stunt thing. So it's like a bunch of things that have to do with like stunt people. And the vehicle that the stuntmen from Roger Rabbit used is just like sitting over in the corner. It's like this weird little motorcycle thing, and you can crawl on it. There's no signs like keep off it, whether you can just, it's just there.
And you know what? A lot of people don't realize all the stuff that's actually in that restaurant still. I mean, there's molds from Pinocchio ride at Disneyland.
Yep.
That's just all
just all these little bits and pieces. Like there's a full-scale diver from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea at the Magic Kingdom, and he's still in there.
Oh, he is.
It's a plaster, positive in case you ever need to make a mold off of it.
Right.
And he's still standing there. It's really weird how much great stuff is in that little place.
So they had all this stuff in storage. Some of it may have been left over from creation of the park itself, because they had all those empty paint cans and used paintbrushes and signs and all sorts of crap, right? And really kind of created this really, I enjoyed eating there because there was always something to look at, right? You always would find something. It had kind of a whitewashed feel to it too, right? Because I think the ceiling was all painted white, right? It was kind of mechanical and industrial in a way too.
It's like a shop.
Yeah, very industrial. Yeah.
Remember when World of Motion was torn down at Epcot? All that stuff wound up at the studios. Like all the props and wagons and vehicles and heads all wound up over there as though they were part of a movie.
If the picture isn't being painted yet, right? We said earlier that Universal wanted to create their ride through the movies, and we're going to talk a little bit about that certain type of ride at Disney-MGM. But we're already now seeing Backlot. You guys have pointed out that this wasn't from a movie. This wasn't from a movie. This was just leftover. This was from an old ride.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was illusion, right? Again, going back to what Universal wanted to create a real working studio. So just for our listeners' sake, keep that in mind as we progress through a couple of these other attractions. That you're supposedly in the movies, right?
Yeah.
And at a working studio, because that's what they intended at some point, and what they wanted you also to believe, which has been my gripe over the years. We'll get to one part that I really get angry at a little later. But
so I think from there we probably said, okay, let's go see something. So we walked back across the park through the Studio Gate Arch to, I think we probably went to do the Magic Disney animation next. The tram tour as well as the animation tour both loaded from that courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
And people coming off of the post-production tour attached to the tram tour would come out there as well. So it was just a giant crowded mess.
And again, that was all to the theme of you going into the studio, right? You'd go under that arch, then you'd go inside that courtyard, and then you'd go into that queue area that snaked you back and forth before you're going to get on your tram. But it was all, you're now entering the studio, you're leaving the theme park, you're going to come behind the scenes to where nobody should be.
That's true.
I imagine that would be the case, but I never felt that way.
No,
That's
of
funny-
course you did.
that's
At the
funny
beginning,
you
and that
say
goes
that.
back to my whole point earlier. Is that
Yeah, that's funny you said that. That's the first time I've ever heard that in my life.
But there's
like you were entering the studio part, you know.
right. Well,
But
and actually, if you look at the design of the buildings too, all those buildings along where Pixar Places now were all studio look, whether they were facades or not. All had that look. Now,
well, and at that time, you couldn't even go back there.
you couldn't go back there, but they all had that studio look. The Mickey Mouse stuff was all back there, Mickey Mouse Club rather. But you may not have fooled everybody, but you would have fooled the McFarkles. So
yeah. That's you're right, because you came there and it even like the back lot, the restaurant there, the soundstage restaurant was off to the right. I think we probably wandered in there that day. We may not have eaten there, and they had the sets from the movie Big Business in there.
Yep, that's right.
So you could. That was kind of like their thing, and then up on top of that was the Catwalk Bar, which
that's right. We were like, they serve alcohol here. What?
So I think we did the animation tour then, which we won't go into great detail about the animation tour, but
yeah, just for our listeners' sake too, there's a lot of things we're touching on tonight. We are going to go through a lot of these in more detail in future podcasts, as well as the whole concept and design behind the studio. So we probably should have opened with that, but we really wanted to get a good picture of what opening day was like and how little was there. So and how it's matured from today. So
stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for more. With
2017, you'll hear more.
Exactly.
I mean, I will say, Dave and I were both huge Disney animation fans. So when we walked in there and they started to run Back to Neverland with Robin Williams and really good animation and Walter Cronkite, we were just like, holy crap.
This is Walter Cronkite here at the Disney Animation Studio. Today we'll have a unique look at how their films are created. Well, sir, you sir there.
Yes, sir.
Could you give us a little help today?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, wait a minute, you're Walter Cronkite, and that's the way it is. Hold on, Walter, can you just a moment? How you doing? Name's Robin. Nice to be, but you can call me Chuck.
Robin, what's your favorite Disney film?
I'll be honest, Walter, I think Fantasia has a certain Fellini-esque kind of quality, but my real favorite is Peter Pan, boy. I mean, Neverland. Oh, little pixie dust and you could fly,
Robin, today you can visit Neverland.
Oh, Walter, don't pull my leg.
In order to demonstrate the animation process, we're going to turn you into an animated character.
Does this mean I'm only going to have 3 fingers?
Who Framed Roger Rabbit was out. That was a
and
big
was
deal.
omnipresent in the park.
Yeah.
Roger Rabbit. Oh my God, that was everywhere.
Right, you had those boxes.
Everywhere you looked, it was the Barber and Acme factory there. God, we all got under the dip machine or the bulldozer. Like we were getting smashed.
All right, so animation and you used to walk into this building, and outside you'd see kind of like what they have today, where they had some pre-production artwork, and then you would go in and you get this little movie set up to you, and then they would take you around from section to section. So you'd start off and see where the animators work, and there'd be a little television that ran over that section, and they sort of explain the animation process, and you'd see real live animators working, and then there was a section about storyboards, and they'd explain that, and you'd see storyboards hung up on the wall. And as productions were going through there, it would change. It's like one day we walked in and it was like the Lion King storyboards were up there for the I Just Can't Wait to Be King section. And no photography or anything like that was allowed, because obviously you were actually seeing stuff before it came alive.
And I remember walking through. They had the multi-plane camera there too, right? That was set up on the
Yeah,
side.
that's right.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. That was always...
Actually, the first thing you saw was the story room when you walked in there, and they had artists from all over animation come in and sign the walls.
Oh yeah.
And that's something to not forget, because I think it's still there. John Kay or Ren and Stimpy drew that big Ren on there, and just all kinds of anyone that could come in and teach these guys or talk to these guys, they'd have them sign the walls. And that was the first room you saw through the glass when you came in.
That's right.
So I hope it's still there. Hell, I haven't been out there forever.
They just run you through. They had a computer section set up, and I think that's where I saw the very first Pixar animation computer before Pixar was a company.
Really?
They actually had one of the black Pixar computers sitting there, and they were running some stuff on that. And this is back when they would just be literally, it's like we saw Tin Toy on VHS from a tape of stuff from Seagraph, because that was the latest and the greatest. So we got through there and got out the gift shop, and then maybe we probably tried to get onto the trams then to do the backlot tour because it was right there. Again, it's the it's right there. Let's just do
right
that.
there. You go right back into the same way you entered.
Yeah. So it's 1:32 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is beating down. It's still hot. It's super crowded. We made our way onto the tram tour. So those when you're walking into that area, the huge arches, you used to pass through the middle of the building that was there. The animation studio entrance would be on the immediate right, and you'd kind of go through the middle. I don't think there's anything there.
I was there 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, I think, and I went back there, and all of the queues on that diagonal were still there. They were still there. So you used to queue up for and actually you can kind of see where the curb was, where the trams used to pull up. And again, you were entering into the studio. So,
yeah. I think there were some Duratrans backlit displays with some photos as you were going back through.
They had movie posters and all sorts of upcoming.
So we got on the tram and started to take that tour. And at this point, I think we're probably just starting to drag from just all day in the heat.
What time is this about? 1, 2 o'clock? Or
it's got to be.
Oh my God, probably
easily 2 in the afternoon. So they start taking us. There wasn't much to see back then. They would kind of take you just around the loop to get you out and through, and then down into the wardrobe building.
Warren Beatty, detective suit from his production Dick Tracy to Out This Fall. Julie Andrews, costume from the classic Mary Poppins. Captain EO spacesuit worn by Michael Jackson. And some of the co-stars of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now take a close look at these guys, because they're the only people I know that can make a scene and then get paid for it.
Were there workers in the wardrobe? Were they in there? Like when you go through that tunnel?
Yeah, there were people in there.
That's the one thing that had survived from the beginning of that tour. They always took you through wardrobe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and the scenic shop.
The scenic shop, right.
Yeah.
Which was no longer making scenes by the end. They were just...
That was actually functional for a long time.
Right.
And there was there was another room in between there, too, where they had lighting equipment to rent out to the productions that would come in.
Right. They wanted you to believe that this was the warehouse for the lights and different materials.
All the Panavision cameras.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then after the wardrobe and the scenic shop, you pulled onto Residential Street, and you saw the house from the Golden Girls.
And Herbie.
Yeah, and Herbie, finally.
Herbie. Remember Herbie?
And
you used to be allowed down
the
there.
empty nest house.
Of course, next time you see the house on TV, you'll be completely covered in snow. We drove on President Arnold Street, and that's Herbie the Love Bug. He's up a bit early this morning. Good morning, Herbie. As you can tell, he's sure good. And how many people it takes to take even a 30-second commercial. Take a quick glance at your left, because that's the Golden Girls house. It's the beige one. Yeah, those shots are then sent to California, where the rest of the show is shot on a soundstage.
But that was the great delight after all that time of not seeing anything, doing anything. To see the Herbie in the front yard that spun its wheels and
smoke came up,
actually did something. We were like, thank God something actually happened.
Herbie.
And what again killed me, and again my bone to pick was this, and this is where we shoot the outside scenes of the Golden Girls. And I'm thinking, it's been on the TV before, right? It had already been running a couple of years. You reproduced what you shot in California and then said this is where we do the outdoor shots. You never saw any of the many outdoor shots. Everything was canned. So that got my goat.
Now, there was one house there that they did use for a movie, for real.
Yes.
That's right.
It's like Ernest Goes to Camp or something like that.
No, Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, you
all right, see, I got
this movie, Todd. How dare you?
I got the
wrong one.
Right.
I do want to say they did shoot after they built the backlot. They did shoot the exteriors for the Golden Girls there for a few years. Once it was built.
Okay.
So it was used.
They did do a couple extra.
So for the people that went on that backlot tour, I don't know, what year did the houses disappear? They weren't there forever.
When they built the Lights, Motors, Action.
Yeah,
it was only a handful of years ago.
So
that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was 2000, 2001 they took them down.
So 15 years ago, if you haven't ridden since 2000, those houses haven't been there.
Yeah, they were there they were there for a long time after the show was off.
Yeah, they were there. The whole thing was there. And if you never experienced the Osborne lights when they first came to the studios, and they decorated all the houses on Residential Street.
Oh, that's right.
That was a terrific way to
yeah.
see that. But you'll have to stay tuned to the Christmas episode to hear all about that.
They pull you sort of through.
The Boneyard, remember, was like the thing from Flight of the Navigator. That was it.
That was the whole Boneyard.
That was it. Some plywood laying there.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, that plywood's from Family Robinson or something."
Copper desert skip that was used in the opening sequences of Return of the Jedi. The silver pod is from the Flight of the Navigator. And just beyond that land speeder is from the Empire Strikes Back. Now beyond these and across the canal, we'll give you another perspective on Residential Street. And Iris decided they'd just build one here.
And then into Catastrophe Canyon, so then we finally got to see what all the explosions were about.
Catastrophe Canyon, Team 1, take 2. Let's start the running, please. And action!
I need everyone please remain seated until we get clearance to get out of here. Hold on to all
And then the tram pulls you out, and then you go back into the sort of the New York back lot. I think they did have the San Francisco section, so I'm gonna do a quick look up and see if they actually used like the Streets of America at that point or not.
He's got his old trusty guy.
And now this was technically when you drove by, you couldn't walk there, right?
No, you couldn't walk. And there was also a weird thing that they used to say on the tour. I went on it in May 19. August 1989. So a couple months after Hal and Dave. I remember that you used to pull up on one side of the back lot, and they'd say, "See this church? It has a country feel to it." And then you go around, you do Catastrophe Canyon, they show you all the water pumps in the back, and his house as you come around back to the streets, and you're like, "See the church? It looks like a big city." And every time I looked at it, it looks like the same damn church. It hasn't changed.
This is the thing that made you angry?
They had a fake Washington Square kind of there in the middle.
Yeah.
Which was then removed. Yep. And they literally had like fake film crews out.
Yeah.
Pretending to shoot stuff. Which is ludicrous.
There was no film in those cameras. It was just like...
Did they really?
Yeah.
It was
like opening day you saw that?
Yeah.
It was worse than what they do at Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
It's too bad.
But the cameras
you know what I mean?
were plastic. They were.
I wish it was real.
Well, again, it was this whole illusion. Come be behind the scenes.
See, but like, did you at the time know they were fake?
Of course.
Oh.
Yeah.
But the McFarkles didn't. The McFarkles, oh, look, they're making movies.
Yeah, like we drive down from Ohio, we're all excited. Yeah, I didn't think it was fake. You guys just ruined it for me.
Yeah, I mean,
well, you want to know the crappy part is that they pitched it as they were really making movies.
Right. That's what
Which they did, kind of. Right?
Anybody who's even seen any movie production at all in their life knew that this was a bunch of crap.
Right.
Because seriously, the cameras were like 2-part vacuum formed plastic put together. Then somebody wrote Panavision on the side with a white marker.
Right.
What?
It was
My wife made the
obvious.
camera, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
It was obvious. It was weird. And that's why Universal used to have the commercial on TV. We're the only working movie studio in Central Florida. Right. Come ride the movies, that kind of thing. Because they knew they didn't film.
That's what has it like go with the Indiana Jones, because it can be a good show, but stop pushing the cameras around, stop using the clapboard, stop, putting the fire out extinguisher.
I suppose it's all right. I suppose it's all right to pretend.
Have you ever watched the faces of people in the crowd? They're like, oh my goodness, he just got hit. But
yeah, it still fools people.
It still does. It's funny
I
how
enjoy the movie aspect of it because I think it's so cool. Even if it's fake.
So you pull down New York Street finally, and you kind of get through. And as you come around to unload, there is the Ditmobile hanging out of a churning.
Yeah.
And what is the Ditmobile?
Oh yeah, for those of you that aren't like decrepit like myself, The Ditmobile was the vehicle used at the climax of the film Who Framed Roger Rabbit to flatten Toontown. At that point, you would get off the trams, and then there wasn't the little museum section set up there yet. That came later. You'd kind of walk past a spinner from Blade Runner and like a car from Hardcastle and McCormick.
What?
Yeah, these are all.
You
notice
lost me
they're
after
not
Blade
movie
Runner.
props. They're television props now.
Yeah, this is
well,
really...
Blade Runner.
Now, at this point, you're like an hour into a 3-hour tour, and there is no way to stop this and go back to the front whenever you want to do something else.
That's right. You couldn't choose.
Yeah. They have warned you that once you go on this, it's like you're going to be there for the next 3.5 hours, come hell or high water.
And the model they were working off of is the Universal Studios Hollywood tour, which is like that. It's like a 6-hour tram tour that takes you from attraction to attraction and stop to stop. Is that correct? That people have been on it?
Yeah, I have been. It wasn't quite that long, but it was a tram tour through the back lot, through different things. They take you through the. I was there in '97 or '95, I forget. You go through this tunnel that rotates, but yeah, and then there's a walking portion of it. But they were trying to mimic that, and reproduce it in Disney fashion.
A real studio tour from Hollywood.
Well, yeah, because that's how I was going to point out what you go through next. Again, simulate. I believe there was a bathroom stop. Though,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
There was a chance because
there
you
was
walked
a restaurant. There were bathrooms. Yeah. The bathrooms are over by the splash fountain.
Because if you ever got separated from your group, you could always wait for the next group tour to come through and hop with them too. There were always
That sounds awful. Just ride with perfect strangers.
Don't get me started.
And then this whole there's an outside part of this that is all themed to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So there's a bunch of little outdoor undercover shops where you can get like a souvenir photo where they'll like put you in the picture with like Roger Rabbit. There's like a bunch of like gag. It's supposed to be like Marvin Acme's warehouse, so there's a bunch of like gag stuff hanging from the ceiling, and you can buy whoopee cushions and stuff from a little store.
You remember you'd follow his footprints to the next part of the tour.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, they had the pink footprints on the ground, and you'd follow them along to the next part.
There's a
also they had those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That you open the box, and it made the noise.
That's right.
I've got some good footage of that, actually. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if there was anything else back. There was like this, a place where a safe had fallen from the ceiling, and you could kind of like put your body as a photo op, so you could put your body under the impact zone of the safe to look like
from
you
the
were
movie.
Crushed. Yeah.
Dropped a safe on his head.
And then I'm trying to think.
But there was a chalk outline of Roger Rabbit with his head under the safe, like in the movie.
Oh yeah.
The first thing was the water.
We just need 2 more things. 1, explosions. Provide by water cannons. And 2, an unsuspecting volunteer actor brought to me by the new group's tour guide, Patrick. You survived the air attack. Dead duck.
Steve's really shaking him up. Now, to make this a little more believable, I'm going to add some wind. Scott's going to add the rain, and you're going to add the sound. When I count to 3, I want you to yell, dump it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cut. That was a great take.
Yeah.
With the battleship scenes.
Right.
And then they chose someone out of the audience to go stand in that tugboat cabin.
A couple people, I feel like.
And it was
and
based.
That big water thing fell on them.
It was
the misfortune.
The misfortune, and it was based. The original films would show stuff from the Poseidon Adventure, I believe, or some film before they changed it to Pearl Harbor. They changed it to Pearl Harbor in the late.
It was the same thing. They cut it all together, and you watched the video.
Yeah, it was the same concept.
So then after you did all that stuff, then it was time for you to like finally get back into the air conditioning, and the next place that you walk into was the special effects workshop and the shooting stage. And I think this was probably the one thing that we were finally like, all right, this actually turned out to be kind of cool because
it's worth it.
you would after waiting outside this, like, you would actually start up walking up these stairs and be on the backside of this like metal shed building, watch a couple videos, and they would let you into their like special effects workshop. And the cool thing about that at the time is it was just filled with all kinds of models and props from Disney productions, and also stuff that was at Epcot. So there was everything from the ships from Body Wars, like on a table.
Yep.
They had the Cygnus and the Pegasus from the Black Hole hanging up on the rafters. They had some of the prop guys of the Dead Salesman from the Monster Sound Show. It was just filled with stuff.
It was great because they basically went around Walt Disney World property, and some from Hollywood or wherever they shot this stuff, and just try to fill like spaces with props, So you'd see a pirate head, or you'd see, a bunch of hands, like animatronic hands hanging around.
There was one other place on property built around the same time that they did the same thing. Can anyone name it?
No.
Just the center building. That's all I can think of.
Comedy Warehouse in Pleasure Island. They loaded the walls there. They were like gates, just like that, and it was just filled with signs and props and ride rejected parts and stuff that was just filled to the rafters with that stuff.
That is true.
And now it's all worth $1 billion.
Right.
Yeah, at that time it was just like, oh, we're not using this. This isn't worth anything.
Yeah, throw it out.
So we got through there. I can't remember what they demonstrated in that first room at that point.
I remember what that was. I have that on film from the same trip in July, August '89. It was Honey, I Shrunk the kids. They had the bee, and they would choose 2 kids from the audience, and this is where they used the green screen. And they would
that was in the second. That was in the second room. But you're right. I think the first room was also about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and then they like took you into the next room.
Oh, that's right. They had you know what it was? They had the shrinking gun was there, and it would do some funny things and turn around and turn on, and then they'd purge you into the other one.
Awesome.
They reenacted the bee flying through the through the yard scene, and
I remember that.
By filming in front of a blue screen later, we could make the blue disappear and replace it with any background that we like. It was this process that enabled actor Bob Hoskins to drop into the cartoon world of Roger Rabbit. And now we're going to create a little blue screen magic of our own. Action! Rolling! Wait your arms, keep the screen, guys. Oh, that's great. Keep it up. As you see, our bee stays stationary on the floor. But if you look at the monitors, you can tell it's our computer-controlled camera, panning, tilting, and zooming to give the bee the illusion of flight. Oh, wait, cut. Christopher, can you set it up for a second take, please? Guys, we gotta talk. You're flying through the backyard on the back of this giant bee. You can fall off at any time. It's a life or death situation, and you're both smiling. This is a scary scene.
Yeah, and the bee was pretty big. It was like maybe, I don't know, 8 feet long or so, and it was
big enough for a kid to hang off.
Yeah,
of it.
and they'd strap the kid in, and they'd have a green screen, and the camera was on this gantry, this dolly that would go up and down and around to simulate the movement, and then they would put it all together and show you what the film looked like. And then when that was over, the automatic doors would open and you'd walk through it. And if I remember correctly, I seem to recall that there was just one level. You were up high looking down into this prop area.
Yep.
And looking down onto the bee and the camera.
Right. They were kind of like in a pit, and then you were up on the sides looking down. And I think that camera was actually built for the Black Hole.
Oh, really?
It was Disney developed their own motion control system called ACES, which was kind of going up against Dykstra's Dystraflex camera that was developed for Star Wars. So Dykstra did their computer controlled camera, and Disney's like, okay, we're going to make one of those. And I think that's the thing that ended up at Disney-MGM Studios for that show.
So how at this point you move to the one portion of it that really gets my goat.
Yeah, we're moving on to your Happy Land now.
The sound stages. Now I have in front of me what it said on the original specially designed stages that you look in on movies and television shows in production. Right.
But if that's not going on.
If that's not going on, look.
Then we're going to show you this other thing.
Right.
Well,
there were
to be fair, the intent when they built it was in fact to have working production facilities, develop them on the East Coast, as another, the lifespan of that concept of the park, I mean, literally lasted weeks before they just abandoned it and had to fix other things. So your ire, while no doubt real, may not necessarily be well placed for it being a ruse of some sort.
Oh, I know. No, I knew it never was a ruse, but
They
what
did
was
shoot the
interesting-
Mickey Mouse Club in there for
They
a
did.
while.
I was gonna say
And
the
Hulk
Mickey Mouse
Hogan
Club.
show Thunder in Paradise and a bunch of other stuff.
I did see Wheel of Fortune being there, being filmed there.
Yes.
Backstage made a couple appearances down there. So, but how you'll tell about the Bette Midler area. So
Yeah, so after you go through, so the one thing that they're doing is trying to set you up, and legitimately they're trying to give people an idea of how films are made, which was still kind of a mystery to most people at that time. So they actually did a really good job of trying to explain the production process. They'd show you the sound stages. And they actually had like curtains that they could pull across the windows. So if they were filming something they didn't want people to see, you'd literally be stuck just watching like a video and you couldn't look down and see anything going on. So then the next thing to do was to explain the post-production process. And in order to do that adequately, they actually they would start you walking down from the upper level of the tour, like sort of back down to ground floor, and you'd pass by all the things that you just saw filmed in that movie. So they had, there's a scene where they go into the subway and they have this like 1/4 of a subway car on a track that you can see. And they've got the pigeon statue and they've got part of the interior of her apartment there. So you could kind of see like, oh, that stuff is really fake. And then once you got back down to the bottom floor, you started walking through the post-production area, which is run by a company called the Post Group. They would have videos in each section to go over things like Foley, and they have a Foley pit there. You could look through the window and see like where people they'd like pull that thing open. They'd have gravel and different stuff, but they would have someone sort of like demonstrate how that worked. Trying to think, they did some stuff with editing, but the really surprising funny one after all the straight stuff was this one with Pee Wee Herman and Mel Gibson.
Yep.
Where I think that was the one that was about editing. And first they show, was it Daryl Hannah? Somebody in Mel Gibson.
I think so.
And it looks like,
because she was in Splash.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it looks like they're running towards each other's arms. And then at
Yeah,
the very
like
last
the classic
yeah,
scene.
like in a wheat field or something. And then at the end,
And then they switch places.
yeah, and then it's Pee Wee Herman like running into the arms of Mel Gibson and hugging.
I remember waking up after stumbling along there for 3.5 hours and seeing that part, and I was like, ah, that's hilarious. Yeah, that was good.
Which it was. And then I think then after that they would walk you into the Walt Disney Theater and show you a preview of like whatever the next movie that was coming out.
Yeah.
Which was noticeable because it actually had a pre-show movie with Michael Eisner and Mickey that had some really funny, weird gags in it.
Yeah, I saw that on YouTube recently. Somebody has that whole thing.
Oh, excellent.
And he's like totally ruling Michael Eisner. It's like, yeah, you come over here or whatever, you know.
There's a point where like
Just being his boss.
Yeah, Eisner says like, Mickey, we gotta go, and he like looks down at his watch and he's got a Mickey Mouse watch. Then Mickey looks at his watch and he's got a Michael Eisner watch.
Yeah.
Gonna make a limited edition Michael Eisner.
Yeah, I want a Michael Eisner watch now.
And then they go into the movie theater to watch the screening of the movie that you're going to watch. And Chernabog from Night on Bald Mountain and Fantasia is sitting in front of him, and he like do the big music thing. And Eisner says something like, hey, you down in front. And he turns around and goes, Sorry, Mr. Eisner.
Oh, boy, my favorite seat. Uh-oh. Excuse me, do you mind?
Excuse me, will you sit down, please? You're blocking our view.
Sorry, Mr. Eisner. Excuse me. It'll never happen again.
Yep.
That was funny. Again, after all day, it was like, oh,
right.
Finally, something entertaining.
So are you done this tour yet, or like is that the conclusion?
Yes, that is the conclusion
end,
of the
right?
tour. And then finally, after 3.5 hours, you're let out of the sunlight again. Unfortunately, there are bathrooms right there at the exit.
Right, and they dumped you out right back into the courtyard. It
was called the Soundstage Restaurant. When it
Okay.
opened, it was big business, a Lily Tomlin, Bette Midler movie.
Yeah, here's the description from
It went on to Beauty and the Beast. I know that.
Yeah, and Aladdin
I
after
took
that.
a ton of pictures in there. Yeah, and those camels that are in Adventureland now came from in front of that restaurant.
Oh yeah.
During the Aladdin thing, and they used to spit at you just the same way they do now.
So maybe at this time we finally decided let's go on the Great Movie Ride.
Here we go.
Yeah, well, the line was like 5 hours long.
Oh, really?
You know, so
Out
it's
the
no
door?
wonder we didn't run right there.
Yeah, I think we realized later on we just should have got on that right away because.
Yeah, it was horrible. I mean that line was down the street.
So it was out the main entrance, I take it?
Yeah,
it was
And
really.
then, now, on the concrete there, was all the handprints there, or weren't they? Didn't they come as the park was open? Was it like blank?
Some of them, I think.
Yeah, there were a few there, but not a lot.
Okay.
Because yes, they did this thing where they had a star a day, which was really like a star every week. And they would bring in some Hollywood star to put their hands in the concrete, and then they'd give a little speech out in the middle. I think I have a handout of like the day Pat Morita was there from Happy Days.
Warren Beatty, and then an hour later, Dick Tracy did his handprints too.
Yeah,
of course, Bette Midler. He was
Bette
probably
Midler with a lottery ticket pressed into it.
first. Yep. Kiss marks on the cement.
Yeah.
Today, we're pleased to welcome our special guest stars, Steve Allen and Jay Meadows. You are invited to follow along to the Chinese Theater for a very special hand imprint ceremony with our guest stars, just moments from now. Please join us. Thank you.
So you got in there finally. Now, was the waiting area all like decked out with the props like it is now?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, that really hasn't changed at all.
And the movie.
Yeah, Alien props. Wizard of Oz props to like match up with what was inside.
Yeah.
And Mary Poppins, like some costumes for Mary Poppins.
Okay. So you went. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know we're not gonna go through the whole attraction. We're gonna save that for another show. But being through it now, as you have, and going through it in the very first day, I know I was there a couple months after opening. I can't think of anything other than the movie clips that have drastically changed. And the Footlight Parade girls still aren't going around in circles. I think I saw them go around once.
No, I was going to say, the thing is, like, everything worked.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It was exactly like today, except everything actually functioned. So when you're in Footlight Parade, it's like those girls spun around on that turntable, and it shot water out of it.
Yeah, there was water.
Yeah,
there was
water
a there was a wall of water that came down.
Yeah.
So that was functional.
And they weren't even animatronic. They were just mannequins.
Right, which was not so bad when they were spinning around.
Right, now they just look
Yeah.
so
but when they're
silly.
just sitting there, it looks fake as hell.
Yeah.
And the bubbles were all coming down, you know.
That's right.
And they were doing that whole, I don't know what, whatever it was.
Like a Lawrence Welk.
No, who was it? Busby Berkeley.
Oh, yeah, Busby Berkeley.
Yeah.
I've staged 50 musical comedies, and I'll stage 50 more.
I remember, too,
yeah.
in a lot of the commercials that they did, they would always show the scene from Alien with it coming out of the ceiling and these people, basically jumping out of their pants, how scary it was. And I remember one of my earlier trips back after it opened, the thing wasn't even working. I mean, that was another thing that never seemed to work right or never got timed right with the cars going.
Well, I'd say in the last 5 or 6 years, there's like a whole lot of stuff that wasn't working. And okay, so at the time, I mean, we'll put aside the whatever you personally think about the show. But but we're finally like in a show where there's some stuff happening. So we have no idea what's going on. So like we rolled through that gangster scene and we're like, oh yeah, okay, this is gonna be cool. There's some gangsters in the car talking to each other. And then we just keep going like past them.
Yeah.
We're like, what just happened?
We didn't get it. We didn't get it. I don't think people still get it.
Right. That it separates. Yeah.
We're like, what the hell?
The tour
and
audio
then
does
the
kind
guy
of
burns up there trying to grab the jewel, and we were like, so?
Yeah.
Well, that's what he gets. Oh, and then our guy jumps back in the car.
Yeah, so we
there we go.
We stopped at the cowboy section, so they started going through the cowboy stuff.
Here, this is time for my getaway.
Hold it right there, hombre.
You two are never gonna get away with this!
Oh, yeah?
Oh no, we're
sky. You're under arrest. Nothing. Maybe the judge will go.
And at that time, that part of the room where the fire shoots out of, it wasn't covered with like 10 years of black soot, so you could tell what was going on.
Right.
And
yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, and to this point, like up until this day in 1989, there has been no Disney attraction that has fire, explosions, like anything jarring. It's like the worst that would happen is you would go through like a fake asteroid storm and your seats would shake. So when that fire explosion went off and was hot, we were just like, what the?
Yeah, and I remember saying to you, we talked about it, they should put that in Pirates.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because
like the whole burning village part should have that.
Yeah.
Because it was that impressive. It was really hot.
It was super hot. So you get through there, and now here's one I keep trying to remember, but I can never remember correctly. Dave, do you remember when you go past that like absolutely horrible sculpt of Sigourney Weaver in Alien?
This is Alien. You are with Sigourney Weaver aboard the spaceship Nostromo. Something has gone wrong.
Like, I don't even know how that's supposed to be Sigourney Weaver, but it's supposed to be Sigourney Weaver. Was her flamethrower functional on opening day? Did it have like the little pilot light coming on of it?
No, not that I remember. No.
Okay. Was there stuff dripping down in the hallway behind her? Okay.
Yeah, there sure was. It was that glycol mixture, like a the clear gel.
Yep.
But it's food safe, and they use it in all the animatronics now.
Okay.
But yeah, it used to drip down really cool.
Yeah.
Right, like slime when you were a kid and you bought a can of slime, except it went green. But yeah, it used to drip down all the time. It doesn't anymore?
I don't think it does now.
Can't recall. I remember seeing it, but I can't recall.
What, the one overhead?
The one behind Sigourney Weaver.
Oh,
yeah, like right behind her. It was, yeah.
There's a big hole in the floor.
Yeah.
Or the ceiling.
Yeah, it was
above her.
Yeah, and the pump.
It was really cool.
Well, that still drops all the snot and everything down.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cool. How do you remember the time after the park opened? Me and you were like walking around, and we just decided, hey, let's open this door. I don't even remember where we were. Let's open this door and see where it goes. And we opened it up, and there's Sigourney Weaver. We were right in the ride, and a vehicle just went by, and there was no alarm, no nothing. So we got in, we walked in, and we shut the door, and we're standing there, and we're looking right at her while she's doing her thing. And then we look over there, and we see the next tram coming, the next carload of people, and we're like, "Oh, we ought to go."
It's like one of those, like a Naked Gun movie or a Muppet movie where they open a door and there's some crazy thing going on behind it, and they close the door.
Yeah, it was totally stupid. We were just trying to see where doors went, and we opened it, and there she was, and we're just standing there watching her. And they're like, yeah, maybe we ought to shut and get out of here.
The one thing that was really impressive at that time, though, was the Wicked Witch figure, because Disneyland had the new figure in Pirates for the auctioneer, but we had never seen that. We never had, what is that, the A1000?
Yeah.
We hadn't had that in Florida, so when that came up and started doing the thing, we were just amazed.
Who killed my sister? Who killed the Witch of the East? Was it you?
No, I didn't kill anybody. That was an accident.
Well, my little pretty, I can cause accidents too.
Oh, rubbish. You have no power here. Be gone before somebody drops a house on you.
Very well. I'll bide my time.
And still to this
Totally
day, it's
amazing.
still one of the best that they've done.
Yeah.
It's still so fluid. I mean, yeah, you Ursula and a couple others now that are a little more fluid, but still it's held through time very well.
It was super impressive for that time period. Super impressive.
Yeah, it really made the wait worth the while to go, ride the great movie ride and wait 2 hours or whatever. And then you see that, it's like, man, holy crap.
I think my grandparents thought it was an actor. I remember my grandmother saying something like, "Oh, that woman's got to do that a lot during the day, huh?"
So then I think after that we finally went over to Echo Lake and went over to see what we could of Indiana Jones. So to answer the listener's question, yes, it was Indiana Jones from the beginning, but the deal was the show was not ready for production. So it was billed as a sneak preview of rehearsals for the show. So
that's right.
So we piled in there, and the only part that we saw, I think, that day was the Nazi plane and them having the fight.
Yeah, the flying wing. Yep. And it swings around. Yeah, and he has to drop through that hole.
Oh, that's right.
In the floor when it hits him or whatever. I mean,
I believe that the airplane too. There was a trap door that would open on the airplane, and portions of a fake fabric would blow up into the air to simulate him getting hit. Yeah.
So I don't think they ever ran the first half of that show almost until like super late 1990 or 1991, because every time we went after that, they were always running the back half of that show.
I did see the full show, and I'm going to tell you right now when that was. I have the whole thing recorded, and that was and it was August 89.
Oh, okay. And again, the explosions. It's like, so now it's probably 4:30 or so in the afternoon, and we have been like exploded on multiple times. It's already hot out. It's even fiery. So I think that's when we finally decided, let's go to that bar and get a drink up in the catwalk.
Catwalk bar.
Because not only most Epcot, even at its most exciting, was like kind of relaxing, and the same thing with the Magic Kingdom. And then like all day long, it's just like adrenaline. So we were had it. It's like we went up and got a drink, and I happened to turn 21 on April 30th, so I actually purposely held out so I could have my first legal alcoholic beverage at the Catwalk Bar.
Nice.
You knew that was going to be there?
I think so, yeah. Or we took it. I don't know. Something happened where I was just like, all right, that's it. We're doing this.
Yeah.
So,
the hell with it, man. Drink up.
So we went in there and we're just sweaty and hot and tired, and we're like, finally, it's air conditioned. It's like we got a drink. It's like we're relaxing, and sure enough, it's like two of the Street Miss Beer performers from Hollywood come in, just start blah 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 blah. It's just like, just please leave us alone. Go away.
I think everybody was like that. There were too many of them.
They were in character,
and they kept trying to come up and make you part of the show or something. And I don't like that crap myself. And I was like, go away.
It was really in your face at that point, like incredibly in your face all day long. Way too much. So
in the bar.
Yeah, in the bar while you're sitting down and just trying to cool off. And I think I have my opening day book. So the only we didn't bother to watch the stage show. So like when you came in on the right hand side, which is the cut down that now takes you to Sunset Boulevard, there was a huge, not a huge, but like a stage there where they would do a live stage show. And in this opening booklet, they don't even say what the name of the stage is. They don't describe the show. It just says a lively song and dance stage show featuring movies about the movies, featuring Disney characters.
We'll figure something out, So what time did you guys get out of there after that? That pretty much wraps up the whole park, though, right?
I left early.
You did, yeah. Because what was it closed? I mean, I remember years ago they did close early. It was one of the earlier closing parks.
I think
Did they have the Sorcery in the Sky fireworks then?
No, it closed at like 6.
They didn't have any fireworks over the Chinese theater.
Hey, they didn't even know if 3 cars were going to show up, let alone stay open till 7. So
yeah, that's true. That's important too, because they really didn't do it up big. You know, they didn't put on a big show for everybody. And I think that's the part that we were weirded out about. It's like, we're waiting in line, and there's 3 cars in the middle of the night. And then we get in there, and it was crowded, but I wouldn't say not any more than a summer day now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we just went home. There was no nothing. I left early, and Helen was like, yeah, man, you going home? I said, yeah. That's the end of that.
Yeah, so...
And we just went home, and that was it.
That was it. We literally... Anything that was a real show or attraction that day, we did it in that one day. That was it. So, I mean, after all day long, I mean, I think I had an okay time, but I think Dave mostly hated it.
I did. I don't know why. I expected more. Somehow.
Well, if I was with you, I really would have been the grump. So.
Well, in the park, I mean, the park was devoid of thrill rides that even Universal Studios Hollywood has some built in. I think they,
Even I don't get into thrill rides. But I mean, It's a Small World is my favorite ride ever. You know, but they didn't engage me. They pretended to be a studio, and they're not.
Right.
Or they weren't.
And I think
it really made me angry. Because I was like, come on, what are you filming here or not? You know, and looking back, and I'm going to say it because me and Hal were in art school together. We were animators. I mean, we made our own cartoons in art school. They weren't Disney style, but we were doing our own thing. And we really hoped that Florida would be, Floridawood or whatever you're calling it. Because we wanted to have the first animation studio there, you know? So it was important to see that park. And to see it just be a fake was like, wait a minute. What the hell? This is not New Hollywood?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, this whole Florida East concept was not only pitched, to the state, but to us in school too, of like, this is where you're going to have your opportunity. You don't have to go to California. It's like this whole industry is going to get built up here. This is the future. It's like there will be, television and film production jobs that you can do right here in the Sunshine State. And it lasted.
And we were going to be the first animation studio in the New Hollywood.
Yep.
Right.
Outside of Disney, because we were already doing it. And wow. Yeah. It was quite a disappointment. You go through the whole place and you see fake cameras everywhere.
Oh, let's be fair too. I mean, Universal went through a very similar identity crisis. Probably not as deep, but
it was terrible.
I remember visiting there in '91. A year after it opened, and while I didn't feel the same, towards Universal as I did to Disney-MGM Studios, you could certainly see that what they were doing was only going to last a certain period of time. And I was down there a year ago too, and there's still tricklings of that left over today, just as it is at Hollywood Studios. Yeah, I went into, was it a Disaster or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to film this together," and like, no, dude, no,
I think
it's not working.
I understand why they went with like a lot of live stage shows and a lot of theater formats, but I think people really had come to expect rides as part of Disney, and I mean they had one.
Both of those parks, Universal included, were at a time when I think the theme parks were starting to change to morph into what they are now. All right, well, big thank you to Hal and Hoot Gibson for coming on and giving us a great rundown of the very first days of Disney-MGM Studios. But it is time to move on to listener mail. And JT, you ran out to the mailbag. You got lots of things coming in this month. I will say it has been picking up. So thanks to everybody for writing in to podcast at retrodisneyworld.com. But JT, you've picked a couple out here you want to go over this month, right?
Yeah, lots of mail. Very, very exciting. We thank you for that. First one I have here is from Kurt. He says, my question has to do with your podcast about the first half of the World of Motion Pavilion. Many of the pictures of the individual sections of the ride, such as the train robbery area, seem to be taken from some sort of book or magazine. They appear to be models of the actual attractions. Could you please let them know what that is?
Yeah, thanks for writing, Kurt. That they actually came from, my recollection is there's actually 2 books that these came from. One of them is Walt Disney's Epcot Center, which is a fantastic publication. That thing's huge, right? How that's about like 300 pages.
It's massive.
Massive. Yeah.
And they published that into the 90s. I mean, there were different versions of it that they continued to update and publish it.
Right. So if you go on eBay, you can certainly find that. Just put in Walt Disney's Epcot Center. The other one, I'd have to check on this. I believe there are some pictures of the models in the preview edition of Epcot. It was also given out as a Magic Kingdom Club. We touched on that a number of episodes ago. I went through that. So if you look at any of the very early Epcot pictorial souvenirs, you'll find that some of the pictures in there as well. There's a little more artwork than pictures of the model in that one. So thanks for writing in, Kurt, and hopefully you'll be able to find a copy of that book for your collection.
Next mail I got was from a guy named Gordon, and actually he tweeted at us. Is that right? Yeah, he tweeted at us, and he did an early morning Centurium smell check. I feel like this should be a weekly or monthly segment. Update. You know, he says no stench, but his son does say it smells like a bunch of shirts. And then they did a check in the PM in the evening, and a big stench in the breezeway leading to the seas. So that's the Centurium smell check. And a couple people, I think, was that this month where they said they were sending us random pictures of stuff. We got what did we get those pictures of in Fantasyland?
Right. Oh, the weather vanes.
Yeah. It was cool. Somebody was saying, what else do you want to see? And it was cool just to get that quick,
that was from our film a month ago that we did from this. There was a shot from the Skyway, and we were wondering if those ornate weather vanes were still on top of some of the Fantasyland buildings, and it turns out that they are.
Yeah, like we had a man on the scene or woman on the scene type thing.
I really love they have there's a sailing ship one on top of the Columbia Harbor House. There's a sailing ship weather vane.
So yeah, that's and if you have any mail, any questions, anything about our episodes, anything you want to know, podcast@retrodisneyworld.com. You can tweet at us. You can ask us a question directly on Facebook. You can even send us an Instagram message. However you want to do it, we're out there, easy to contact.
Yep. Well, thanks a lot, JT, and we'll look forward to any additional listener mail over the next month. So for those listeners out there, you may have noticed a little bit of audio clarity improvement on this month's episode. I can officially report now that thanks to all of your support on our T-shirts and other merchandise that we offer on our Redbubble shop, that we have fully been able to equip everybody with new microphones, new headsets, and I hope that this brings you a much more clear episode every month. As always, we're still sending out invitations to purchase some additional new designs. Hal's got his Illumination shirt up. So if you have any interest in taking a look at all the different products that we've put up, we've got T-shirts, we've got Hydrolator stickers, we've got Retro Disney World stickers, and the best-selling one, Brian, what's the best-selling shirt right now?
Oh, the electrical water pageant dragon.
That's right. That is one of
Hal's big seller.
It's the consistently big seller.
Top back designs. To school, we had sold some pencil pouches and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So be the cool kid in school.
We've seen some notebooks go through. So now, Hal, you've got your Illumination shirt release, which is the last day to purchase that, I believe, is August 31st, right?
That's right. That's through our friends at Imperial Shirt Company. It's a silkscreen shirt, 3 colors, anvil, super high quality, super awesome. So go check that one out.
Bear in mind, complete redesign. Put the buildings in order. That's
right.
The key.
That's right. I'm inspired by a 1980s Epcot napkin, and then I just realized that the buildings were not the right skyline and in the incorrect order. So the anal attentive person in me had to fix it all.
Right. If people are trying to navigate their way around World Showcase and using your T-shirt as a guide, they're going to find their way around. They're not going to end up in World Showcase Lagoon by accident.
That sale ends, so if you need that for a Christmas gift, you better get it now because it'll be too late in December.
If you'd like to get your own Illuminations t-shirt, you need to order by August 31st. Just head to retrodisneyworld.com/illuminations, and that will take you right to the shop. For anything else, including the Hydrolator stickers and all the other good stuff, you can go to retrodisneyworld.com/support us. Now, we do have one other product coming out, and this is going to be released on the same day that the podcast comes out. So this is a 7-day flash sale, and in honor of our guest tonight, Hoot Gibson, our silent partner, Jason, the podcast who does some of our graphics and behind-the-scenes video work, has created a Mesa Verde University logo T-shirt. And this is we're going to open up for student registrations, and for 7 days you'll be able to put your order in for a Mesa University T-shirt. It's got the official seal, and we'll also have the official Latin translation of the school's motto. And the school's motto is "Send us your child, and in 7 years we return a farmer." So, Hoot, I know you're going to be lining up to buy a couple of these, right?
Oh man, I think it's great.
Yep.
I think it's great. Yeah. I think that the image you sent me of the T-shirt is absolutely incredible.
So
I think it's funny as hell. I mean, I would wear it. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
And if you wear it and you go to Epcot and you go to Mission Space, somebody there is going to go, "Oh, wow, it's Horizon."
So
it's awesome.
It's a cool shirt. It looks cool.
We're going to...
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah. All right.
And there's not enough cool merchandise about Horizons. It never had its own.
That's right.
You know, when you went to Epcot, you didn't buy anything with Horizons on it.
That's true.
So if you're interested in getting your own Mesa Verde T-shirt, head over to retrodisneyworld.com/MVU, and that will take you to our Teespring site. Again, it's only 7 days, and if all the sales go well and things look good, look for the MVU University store to open up on Redbubble with all sorts of other great MVU merchandise. So, all right, it is time to go back to the Auto Rewind. And guys, remember last month we had 3 prizes to give away, and we're actually able to give away 2 out of the 3 this month. JT, you did not get somebody tweeting you a picture in front of the...
disappointing. I'm going to let it stand another month.
Okay, so explain to the listeners what you asked.
Very quickly, I want a selfie shot of somebody rolling by the abandoned pirate ship on Discovery Island. Like,
you can be on the boat. You don't swim out there. You don't.
No, yeah, it's water sprite, ferry, whatever. Yeah. You roll by, snap the shot, put it right on the at Retro Disney World Twitter. Boom, done. You get the prize mailed to you.
So we did have another one-off prize that we gave out. That was what were the 3 shows before Illuminations. And we did have Andrew Toffoli write in. He got the correct answer. Carnaval de Lumiere, A New World Fantasy, and Laserphonic Fantasy was the...
he was quick, too, wasn't he?
He was quick, definitely very fast. So congratulations to Andrew. But going on to our Auto Rewind segment, let's take a listen to last month's Auto Rewind Puzzler.
Everybody needs a friend. No need to stand, no need to stand. Thank you.
All right, so the winner this month is Trevor Thornton, and Trevor correctly sent in the correct answer, which is the Astuter Computer Review from Communicore East Show, which was all about Computer Central. And we're going to certainly
we got a lot of correct answers this month.
The amount of traffic that came in was huge on this. A lot of probably I would say, guys, when you think the number one in terms of quantity of correct answers. So
yeah,
thank you to
happens
to all.
A lot of people that have a great big memory, like an elephant, no doubt.
That's nice. So how is for last month was giving away the book Building a Better Mouse. So Trevor, congratulations. We'll get that off to you along with some Retro Disney World stickers and a little card signed by Hal as he sends that off to you. So you get one of our autographs.
Yes.
Let's take a listen to this month's Audio Rewind and see if you know this one. All right, if you think you know the answer to this month's audio rewind, send your answers to podcast@retrodisneyworld.com. All answers should be received by September 14th, 2015. We will draw one winner from all correct answers entered. And let's see, guys, do you have anything to give away this month? What's got
I
to
got
do?
it.
JT's got it.
JT's got his hand up.
I'm super excited to give
What
this
do you got?
away.
What do you got?
I have from Redbubble a Hydrolator number 3 spiral notebook for going back to school. So in the Redbubble box, brand new. It's very cool.
A retro Disney World Hal Bowers design.
That's right.
Yes, so
Hydrolator
you'll
number 3 notebook.
get that with some stickers and some all for your Trapper Keeper, and you'll be ready to start the school year.
Excellent. So if you know that answer and you want to win that, take a guess at it. Send your answers to podcast@retrodisneyworld.com. And again, we'll pull out one correct answer to win that prize. And every entry will be entered into the big prize drawing in December 2015 for a replica Paul Hartley map from wdwmap.com. We've had a great episode this month in talking to Hoot and How, and we're not going to do a complete film restoration review just in the interest of time, but I did want to speak to a topic. Brian and I are constantly scouring different sources for different films, both 8mm, 16mm, whatever we can find out there. And we've picked up a couple new ones that will be coming out in the next month, 2 months or so. But we were able to acquire some very rare 16mm films, and we do need some help to restore. It's very expensive to do 16mm, and these films are so rare. There's no digital prints available of them anywhere, that we want to make sure that we put them through the best possible treatment in terms of digital restoration and getting them into the computer. Everything we've done so far in the film restoration has been out of our own time and money, and so this we've actually set up an account at Patreon, and the way that this works is it's kind of like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo for those that are producing media and producing something for consumption of that nature. So we do have different rewards that go with different pledges, starting at $5 and going all the way up to $250. Our goal is to try to reach $1,000, and we also already almost a tenth of the way there. So thanks to everybody who has pledged so far. But with the different pledges, there's not only thank yous right here called out live on the Retro Disney World podcast, but we'll also be giving away some Epcot coasters. We've got ability to hear these episodes ahead of time, ability to watch our restored films before public release. So if you can, if there's anything that you can do to help us out and help us reach our goals so that we can get these rare Walt Disney World 16mm films out to the public, we'd greatly appreciate it. So if you can, visit us at retrodisneyworld.com/films and let us know, if you can help support us. So we do have some supporters I wanted to call out. I have 4 people here. I've got Madigan. I apologize, there was no last name there, though. John Cox, Slade Bailey, and Giffen Knack. So thank you very much to all of them for their pledge. And you guys will be hearing this podcast and taking a look at some of our videos and films much before everybody else. So with that said, Brian, you've got one other thing. You're going to be at a show coming up, right?
Yeah, we are. Actually, it's exciting. It's our first live event, I guess. We're Retro Disney World's going to have a table at the RetroCon 2015, which is the weekend of September 12th and 13th in Oaks, Pennsylvania. It's in suburban Philadelphia at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center. So if you are in the tri-state area or up for a long drive, head down. I'll be there manning the table and have some people with me, and we'll have some great Retro Disney World merchandise. We'll be selling some old stuff from the parks. And mostly what we're looking to do is promote, this is one of the ways Todd just talked about our film restoration. We're going to try to solicit people who may have those 8mm, 16mm rare films, rare park items to let us possibly take a look and restore and spread the word about the Retro Disney World podcast. So September 12th and 13th in Oaks, Pennsylvania at the Greater Philly Expo Center, RetroCon 2015. Hope you come and stop by.
That'd be great. Hopefully we can get a lot of people come out and see us. So All right, with that, let's run into some of our sponsors here. We do have some new ones this month. For all your Walt Disney World and Orlando area attraction ticket needs, visit greatorlandodiscounts.com for less than gate prices. And also brought to you by orlandovacation.com. These are vacation homes and discount hotels for the savvy Florida traveler. Also, wdwmap.com, where you can get a replication Paul Hartley map that used to hang in the Polynesian and contemporary years ago. If you're interested in sponsoring us, please email us at info@retrodisneyworld.com. As always, thank you very much to all of our listeners out there. If you can, give us a shout-out or a review on iTunes. As always, you can email us at podcast@retrodisneyworld.com. We love getting your email. We get a lot. We can't get everybody on the air, but we really do appreciate everything that you send to us. Before we go out here, Hoot, I think you want to tell everybody where they can find you and some of your musings and daily banter?
Yeah, man. Facebook, Hoot Gibson. Look it up. Everything I've ever done or all the pictures I've ever taken. So
yeah,
come and get it.
And
Neat stuff.
Go there because you will absolutely see pictures of things that you will not find anywhere else.
Anywhere else. We also had a lot of have a majority, I think, of your old blogs and everything archived and syndicated on our site. So if you go to retrodisneyworld.com, just click Hoot's Loot, and boy, there's enough reading material and photos there for a few hours worth of work.
Thank you for that. All right.
No problem. Well, Hoot, I appreciate you joining us tonight and sitting in. The story was awesome, and we hope to have you on again.
Yes, sir. Anytime you want.
Excellent. And Brian, with that, take us out.
Follow Todd McCartney and Retro Disney World on Twitter and Instagram at RetroWDW, on Facebook at Retro Disney World. And for all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at RetroDisneyWorld.com. On Twitter, follow our hosts, Hal Bowers at GoAwayGreen, for JT Cougar at Hoagie's Garage, and you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Brian P. Miles.
On behalf of Disney-MGM Studios, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the Great Movie Ride. Now, before we do wrap this production, we still have one more scene to do. It's called The Exit. The action begins with you remaining seated until we come to a complete stop. Then you gather all your personal belongings and take small children by the hand. Now, once these doors open, you will rise dramatically to your feet, make a grand exit directly to the rear of the vehicle. Oh, and one more thing. When I yell action, don't forget the thunderous applause for your tour guide. Places, everybody, and action!